Welcome to Inside Out, the True Vision television program that takes you on a journey to the heart of the matter. In a world where soundbites and headlines often dominate the conversation, we are committed to diving deeper. Each week, we'll be joined by expert guests who will share their insight, experiences, and perspective on a specific topic, from social justice to technology, health, politics, state of the economy, and beyond. We explore the complexities, challenges, and opportunities that shape our world. On Inside Out, we do not just scratch the surface, we go deeper, asking tough questions and seeking out the complex answers. Our goal is to inform, inspire, and spark meaningful conversation that will stay with you long after the show is over. So join us as we go inside out and discover a more thoughtful, more informed, and more empathetic perspective on the topic that matters most. Welcome back to Inside Out. Today, we are joined by a distinguished guest, the former Deputy Governor of Abia State, His Excellency, Senator Eyinaya Abaribe, Senator representing Abia South Senatorial District, a respected leader and statesman who has dedicated his career to serving the people of Nigeria. Senator Abaribe has been a vocal advocate for good governance, human rights, and national security. He has chaired several key committees in the Senate, including the Committee on Media and Public Affairs. In this first of a four-part series today, we'll be discussing a critical issue that affects us all: insecurity in the country. From terrorism to banditry, kidnapping, and communal clashes, Nigeria faces a myriad of security challenges that threaten the lives and livelihoods of the citizens. As a seasoned lawmaker and a prominent voice on national issues, Senator Abaribe brings a wealth of knowledge and insight to this conversation. We'll be exploring the root causes of these insecurities, the efforts being made to address them, and the ways in which we can work together to build a safer, more secure Nigeria.
Talk about security. During Buhari's time, security was a topical issue. And I say you were vocal then. You even called for Buhari's resignation in 2020. And under Tinubu right now, we've seen, despite the pledges of the renewable hope agenda, we have seen the worsening state of security in this country. Is there any thought, any plan for you to call for another resignation?
for President? Well, I think that we will say that sometimes the leaders that we have tend to forget the promises that they make getting into office. And so at that time that we were calling on President Buhari, we were saying that if you don't get a grip on this, it's going to get worse. And we have been proven right. And also the fact that unfortunately, the government of Buhari was enabling people to commit mayhem within Nigeria on the basis of an ethnic affiliation which has nothing to do with Nigerians. And so when we had concrete evidence that there were people that were brought into Nigeria to cause mayhem, which Abaribe, former PDP chairman, acting national chairman, confirmed, and nobody disputed him when he said that we imported people in order to destabilize the Jonathan government. And right now, they cannot go. So the seeds of all the explosion in insurrection was created within that time. There had been insecurity, the one that started in the northeast, in Borno precisely, with the formation of the Boko Haram sect. But if you remember, by the later part of the 2014, prior to the elections, they had been decimated so much, and there was nothing. They were just going to be run out, and it was just that. But we never knew that this other. So right now, it behooves on President Tinubu, who is a beneficiary of that whole thing that happened, to bring in an APC government under President Buhari to deal decisively with this issue. There's absolutely no way we can sugarcoat it. The country is bleeding. And every day there is this tale of gory massacres all over the place. And everything tailored towards dismembering this nation. So anybody who's a patriot, it behooves on you to say, what are the best ways that work? It's not to make, don't worry, the television security is everybody's business. It's not everybody's business. It is the business of the government, because the law is, the constitution is very, very clear. It says that the primary purpose of the government is the welfare and security of the Nigerians. It's there. It's the primary purpose of any government. So when a government turns around and now tells me and you, oh, don't worry, you people must do your own, because it's not everybody's business. Because if you are incapable, then you have no reason to be a government. That is just the point. But you know, sometimes we put things that are really, I would say, very, very clear and obvious.
So, is there any way the Senate can force the hand of the government? If the government seems to be incapable or indifferent to it, is there any way the Senate can, the National Assembly?
I think that the job of the National Assembly, like we said, is to give support, make the laws, and by giving support, I mean passing the necessary legislation for the funding of the security, architecture, which we have been doing. We have also had several police, several meetings with the different security agencies, with the heads of the securities and all that. We have always done our own bit. There is no single legislator that is not patriotic enough to do that. But what we say is that despite pouring so much resources into the security network, we still find that there is this whole thing going on. I mean, in the past 2 weeks to 3 weeks, 1 month is been Benue and Plateau, bloodletting at massive scales. And we're saying it. What is the issue? Why are the people not able to contain this? And you know, there are some things that they say, there are some things that we say, that we find it very, very, I will say, very difficult to understand. I'll give you one example. Today, with this phone, you can pay Google and actually see wherever you want to see in this country. And you can expand it until you can see individual trees at any distance. But then you have a situation in which you have 200 bandits in a convoy with motorcycles, which means they are raising a lot of dust and all that, going from one location to the other. And our people are, I tell you, they don't know what happened. Then they just come in, kill and maim and destroy and wipe out whole communities and now disappear again. How? It's not like the surveillance mechanisms are not available. So I just think that first we must have a rethinking of what needs to be done, and then there has to be a focus on, do we want to get this actually dealt with? Because the suspicion for some of us now is that it's being used in some way to make sure that what is called Nigeria no longer exists.
Okay, so speaking about trying to curb that, why is it difficult for the rejigging of the security infrastructure, that the passing of the law for the state police, that has reoccurred over time, and up till now it is not something that has come to light, because many state governors see that if they have the power that's having the state police, it will help them more to be able to curb insecurity in their state instead of leaving the policing to the federal.
So if we get into that argument, then we miss the point entirely. When you say leaving it to the federal, I mean, what is the federal government? It's me and you living within a particular territory. You understand? And so it means that all resources of government ought to be used to fight this type of banditry. If an organized network of people, the military, the Air Force, and all that, are unable, the mere fact that you now say state police, how will that resolve the issue within? I don't think that is that. I think that what we are seeing today is that there is, and I'm saying this advisedly, there is a reluctance to deal with this issue.
Lack of political will.
I don't know whether we'll call it political will. Let me just say it is a reluctance. And we have seen issues. In fact, I think the other day, somebody sent something to me and said, oh, can you people escalate it in the Senate? Let's ask Mr. President to recall this general. And talked about one general, I think Atolagwe or so, who actually captured Boko Haram or insurgents, and they paraded them and was eventually cashiered out of the army. And I mean, that does not make sense. Someone who is trained, because the military and others are supposed to have the prerogative of violence, and then he is able to overcome and then you turn around and he pays a price by being fired or something, then that means that there is something wrong politically, which is what I'm talking about, the question of a reluctance to deal decisively with this issue. My point is the reluctance of the security architecture in the country to deal decisively with the issue. Now, precisely. Now, so we ask ourselves the question, why would a commissioner of police wait when people are being killed to get instruction from somewhere? That ought not to be. So we should call a spade, that you now have to form your own army, force, vigilante, or whatever you call it, in order to deal with a clear and present danger. Why would the police commissioner not answer to the authority in the state? That's what I'm talking about, a reluctance of people to do what is supposed to be right.
And that question will be asked.
Precisely, that is what we're saying. There is a reluctance from the... Look, if the president of the country calls the Inspector General of Police. And the Inspector General brings all his police commissioners in the state. And the president says, this is the rule of engagement. Whenever this governor calls you and you see where people are, you go in immediately. If it's not done, and that Inspector General is fired immediately, you will see everybody change. What is going on, I say, and I continue to say it, it has nothing to do with you going to form your own paramilitary. It is the fact that you know what ought to be done, and you blatantly refuse to do it.
So who does that?
President of Nigeria, because you are the supreme authority. That's why we elected you and made you president. So what we find is that every president looks only towards regime protection, himself and his cronies, and not the people that he's supposed to serve. Because if it's the people that he's supposed to serve, he's not supposed to have an affiliation with whoever is IG. You do your job. If you don't do your job, you get fired. But we now find a situation where IGs, heads of military, were so egregious and so not doing their job, and of course continue to stay in office. That happened severally under the Buhari regime. People will stay in office for God knows how long. And that was why we eventually said that he was detached. But right now, we have not seen any change. And I continue to reiterate, if any president that were put in office immediately fires an IG, okay, for example, people were being killed in Plateau. And the president says, "What? Give me an idea. What's going on there?" You, as chief of army staff, you, as head of the battalion there, you, as head of the brigade there, you lose your jobs. Everybody will sit up. Our what do we call what they call it in French now, our sense of duty has been totally, why? Because personal relationship and this now trumps duty to the nation. And so when you know what to do, you refuse to do it. You do not pay a price for it because of your relationship with whoever is in authority. Once we can get past that mindset, we would have no problem. That's why you see that in nations that grow, the nation comes first, not the protection of whoever is in office.
That's it on today's episode of Inside Out. Till I come your way again next time, I remain your host, Abaribe. Bye for now.